Hello, everyone. Naureen here. So I'm the founder of Inspiring Women in Hospitality, which is a global community for women in hospitality and all working towards one purpose of gender balance. And today I'm acting as host for IWTA for this panelist with my wonderful guests, whom I will ask to introduce themselves. So let's start with Kamal, please.
Hello, everyone. Namaste from India. So I'm the founder of Women for World, and my name is Komal. It's been 10 years I'm in the travel industry. I've started working with Intrepid Travel, and now I am having my own brand. And the main aim of this brand is the name obviously states Women for World. It means social equality. We work on social equality. And along with that, making you fall in love with our country, taking all the other things in our hands and making sure that you have the best and the safest experiences. This is what we work on. And I focus on operations, marketing, and tour guide trainings. That is what I focus on at Women for World as of now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And yes, indeed, India has a lot of beauty to offer the world.
Yes.
Katie, let's go to you next.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Hong Kong. I'm Catherine Ng. My friends call me Katie, and I am the managing director of One Crew. We're an aviation training services provider. I started my career really from the ground up, initially as a flight attendant, and had a chance to travel around the world, and then eventually worked my way up and was able to be in leadership role as the VP of culture. Basically, I had a blank sheet of paper to help shape the organization's corporate culture, if you will. I'm currently a consultant as well as an advisor to our industry, the aviation industry.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Avinash, over to you.
Thank you and good afternoon, ladies and gents. My name is Avinash Menon. I am originally from India, born and raised in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, where I lived for a good 36 years before relocating to the Philippines 4 years ago. I am with the hospitality industry now for nearly 21 years, and currently with Mega Hotels and Resorts, the largest homegrown hospitality brand in the Philippines, for nearly 3.5 years now, working as the cluster general manager for the southern region, also known as the Visayas in the Philippines. It's great to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Avinash. Mike, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Mike Stewart. I'm originally from the UK. I've been living in Asia now for 21 years and working in travel. For 15 of those years, I've been working for Intrepid Travel, who are the world's leading experiential travel brand. I'm based out of Bangkok, and I head up the business for Thailand and Laos.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So today's topic is diversity in the workplace. So we're going to start talking, we're kind of breaking this conversation up into 3 parts. We're going to start with the benefits importance. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced? And finally, we'll be going on to some of the strategies that we've seen to help. So let's talk about, why is it important to have diversity in the workplace and how does it impact your organization? So Mike, let's start with you.
I think starting at the beginning, if you can create that diversity and inclusion, you're going to see an increased amount of creativity and innovation because you've got such a more wide view of things that need to happen than if you've just got one subset of people looking at whatever task it is that you're looking at. It also brings along an improved level of decision making and problem solving. You certainly get much better employee engagement. Definitely, I see that you get better retention and you get that adaptability within your workforce. So when you're faced with different challenges, people are much more adaptable to be able to move, to be able to position themselves to be more competitive in the marketplace.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like that way that you talked about the creativity and innovation. And yeah, there's so much research that's being done when you have a diverse workforce, you have diversity in thought and coming up with new ideas in the way that you look at things. And yeah, the problem solving, becomes just that much more expanded, for lack of a better word. Avinash, what about you? What you've seen in terms of diversity and the benefits as well?
Well, thank you, Naureen. I think hiring workers from various cultural, academic, and racial backgrounds with the balance of gender and sexuality is a sign of diversity in the workplace, right? Because a diverse workplace, from my perspective, is an important asset. And why? Because it acknowledges the individual strengths of each employee and the potential they could bring to the table. Because a diverse range of cultures within the workplace allows companies to deal with different nuances within a global marketplace. In fact, a lot of job seekers and research actually states that about nearly 70% of job seekers weigh diversity as a factor before evaluating companies and job offers. So it really offers a variety of benefits to a company.
Completely agree with that. When people are looking for roles, they really think about the culture, the values, the purpose, and how are you portraying yourself to the wider world, right? What kind of impact that you want to make. Katie, with your background experience in recruitment, in training, and startups, you've obviously seen a lot of changes happening during your career. So how what does it mean, like in terms of the importance of diversity in a workforce, and how does it impact your organization?
Mm-hmm. I love that Mike and Avinash were talking about how the benefits to the workforce if we have a more diverse organization, right? If you're talking about recruitment, for example, right, from a leadership perspective, we have the opportunity as well to implement policies and processes within their organization to encourage diversity, right? And to me, the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion is that to give people the freedom to feel safe in a workplace to be ourselves. And if we can create an environment that supports that, I think going back to what Avinash is saying, that would increase the millennial generation of wanting to be attracted to the workplace.
That's really good. And I think I resonate with your value of freedom. That's something that's been really important to me. And I think that was something we talked about earlier, is that the freedom of being yourself, first it comes with accepting yourself, and then have, the wider world accept you as well. Kamal, for you, you are, you have your own business as well. How do you bring diversity into your workforce as well?
For me, diversity is about acceptance. So what I have seen is that when I started my organization, what I personally think is that when my employees are more confident, there's higher productivity for sure. But what I've loved is innovation. And I have seen that when you give empowerment to your people by accepting them and by giving them that freedom, you see that people feel more empowered, they're better results, they're better profits, they're confident, and they would never leave you because they love being at the place where they work. They make it a family. And this is what diversity is: creating a safe environment, a healthy environment, a nice work-life balance. And the best part is more innovation and happy people.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And what are some of the challenges that you've seen when it comes to diversity in the workplace, either that you've experienced yourself or perhaps you've, witnessed yourself, in terms of some of the issues that may be in terms of lack of diversity in the workplace? And Katie, what about for you?
I do aviation safety and security training. So from my experience, people in the specialized fields such as safety or security, there's still, if you will, a stereotype, a gender bias or stereotype, if you will, and not based on competence of an individual.
Those biases still exist in many of us, and I think by having these types of conversations, roundtables, education, whatever it means, it's raising the awareness raising these topics and being open about having this discussion so that we don't have to have these situations in the future. So for the final part of this conversation for today, we'd like to leave our listeners with some tools, tactics, strategies on how we can make our workplace more diverse. How do we champion it? Can you share some examples where you've seen that impact being implemented and seeing some of those changes, no matter how resistant some may be? But yeah, if we can share with our listeners some examples that you've experienced yourself that they could take away and implement themselves. I'd love to hear from all of you. And I'll start with you this time, Katie, to share your experiences.
I wanted to jump on the conversation earlier. You said, Naureen, about some diversity, equity, inclusion training courses, as well as what Avinash mentioned about diversity training. I have one example, if you will. When I was the head of culture for the airline startup, we had done at that point like 2 full months of intensive training for the first batch of flight attendants. And on the very last day, I had put into the curriculum a diversity awareness program just before their graduation party, which they've been like rehearsing their dance routine and all of that for, right? So they were looking forward to that, but we were running, quite a sensitive topic. So I had prepared 2 versions of the program. One was the safe version, which is an awareness program. The other would have taken a lot of my courage to run the course. And about 10 minutes into starting class, everyone was getting ready. I plucked up like a spontaneous courage to run the risky version, where I adopted, I'm not sure if you've heard of Jane Elliott. She was one of the kind of early days diversity educator. I'm sure if you Google her information, you'll be able to know about her exercise called Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes, right? So I did a version of that where basically a certain group of people were being isolated and they were put in an environment where they felt uncomfortable and they felt discriminated in that environment. And we learned from those from the exercise itself. For some reason, as we got into the program started to run itself. People were getting like light bulb moments and breakthroughs and all of that we ended the session on such a powerful note that it really led on beautifully into their graduation. So fast forward a couple of weeks after, right, we were having people coming out and being their best selves. And that was a great way because they were the kind of, the founding team members that started to make way for the others to just embrace being themselves. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing that example. And, to you for having the courage to run that course and to do something a little bit differently. Avinash, let me come to you next. What examples can you share with our listeners?
Thank you, Naureen. Well, I've been blessed with a wonderful mentor. Sadly, he passed away last year, but he was extremely instrumental in my growth. I think one of the best things I learned from him was to discuss diversity, I think, with the team members and outline the benefits of a diverse workplace. I think that's important. And you need to communicate that to the team for their buy-in. I mean, it's about getting them to understand. Once we understand bias and we build awareness, that is, I would think, the first step towards real change. It may mitigate the resistance to change, as we discussed previously, but I think that's a step towards real change, right?
Thank you, Avinash, for sharing that. And Kamal, over to you. What examples can you share with our listeners about, having a diverse workplace?
For me, creating a diverse workplace, and already Katie and Avinash have mentioned some great points, which I want to tap on again, is going on it one step at a time. Like, we all know that there are certain trainings. We all know there are certain programs. We can invite some diversity trainers. And I know one of my friends who's been a diversity trainer for so long, and she's been traveling the world and telling people about diversity. But I personally think, again, if you want to do it like the DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, you have to actually align it with your organization values. And that is what I have been implementing from past 8 years, that it starts from the grassroots level of recruiting. When you recruit people, you just sit and recruit them because they are different and they would bring something new to your company, like talking about culturally adding rather than culturally fit. And then constantly discussing with your teams. I've seen that being open to them, being accountable for your actions. These are some of the steps to creating a diverse workplace and to create a safe environment for your people. So you have to create a nice balance where people have the freedom, they feel empowered, and along with that, your company's policies are being taken care of too. So just like something I've created and I'm trying to create.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that example of, you're basically looking for role models, right? And each and every one of you here speaking today are becoming those role models for, for the leaders in this or within this industry to share about your experiences, become each other's cheerleaders, and learn from one another. So thank you so much. Mike, finally, with you, what would you like to add to what Avinash, Katie, and Kamal have already said?
Yeah, everybody's covered quite a lot off there, but there's some key points that I would like to go back to. The whole point of knowing what the values of what your business is and what your business stands for, I think is critical. If you have that value-driven aspect to your business, it's then quite easy it's easier to be able to align your DE&I to those values, because it's actually being driven by the value. It's not being driven by an ROI or targets or deadlines. It's being driven because this is who we are. This is what we stand for. And if you are clear around that, and then you have those champions that we've kind of just touched on, where you have the cheerleaders, as you said, if you have these champions that naturally line up with those values, they will then start to drive the policies, the guidelines, and the various measures that you can put in place to be able to actually affect the change. Again, I think it's very important that you're measuring your diversity and reviewing, because it's continually changing. It's not a static thing. It's not a journey to an end point. It's going to keep changing, and we have to keep challenging ourselves. The first step, definitely, everybody's already said it, unconscious bias. It's in every one of us. You've got to challenge yourself first. Once you get through those challenges yourself and you're aware of them, you can start to manage those, then become accountable for those decisions that people have been talking to. And I think then the trust starts to build from there. So it's the accountability of your actions. I think that you've got to show that you truly believe, give people that platform, give them the opportunity to have their voice, to bring their opinion, to be themselves, to be who they integrally are. And if you can create that environment, get that trust, then you start getting all the benefits. And the benefits are just mind-blowing. I think challenge yourself, have your values aligned, then start being accountable for your own actions, look for your champions, and then it will spread throughout your business.
Thank you so much, Mike, for wonderfully closing up our session and summarizing everything that we've just discussed. And I think my takeaway from that, what you just said, was really actions, not words, and really making sure that you're setting the example, right?
Yeah.
And as leaders within our organizations, what are we doing to encourage an environment of inclusivity to allow our employees to be exactly who they want to be, or who they are, essentially. So with that, I will bring this roundtable to a close. Thank you so much, Kamal, Katie, Avinash, Mike, for this amazing conversation on diversity in the workplace on behalf of IWTA. And I know our listeners are going to take a lot away from this amazing conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.